Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Special Joint Committee on Medical Assistance in Dying. I'd like to begin by welcoming the members of the committee, as well as witnesses and those who may be watching on the web. My name is Mark Garneau, and I am the House of Commons Joint Chair on this committee. Je suis accompagné de l'honorable.
I'm accompanied by the Honorable Una Martin, the co-chair from the Senate. Today, we will be continuing our statutory review of the provisions of the Criminal Code relating to medical assistance in dying and their application.
The criminal economy requires that committees adhere to health protocols, which are in effect until June the 23rd. It's mandatory that any person in the committee room for them to wear a mask or face covering except members who are in their place during the proceedings. All those inside the committee room should follow the best practice of maintaining physical distance, and I'm sure you're very aware of all that. With that, there are a few administrative points I'd like to bring up. J'aimerais rappeler aux membres et aux témoins.
I'd like to remind members and witnesses to keep their microphone muted unless recognized by name by the Joint Chair. A reminder that all comments should be addressed through the Joint Chairs. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. Interpretation in this video conference will work like in an in-person meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either Floor, English, or French.
With that, I would like to welcome our witnesses for Panel 1 this evening, who will discuss the protection of Canadians with in actual fact, it's a special one with protection of Canadians with disabilities and mental illness. As individuals, we have Miss Cheryl Romer, and also as well we have Mr. Gary Nichols and Miss Trish Nichols. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin with opening remarks by Miss Romer, followed by I think it will be Miss Nichols who will be speaking on behalf of the Nichols. So, Ms. Romer, you have 5 minutes for your opening remarks. Please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hello. To the Special Joint Committee on Medical Assistance in Dying. Thank you for making the time to hear me today. My name is Cheryl Romer, and I am a 45-year-old mother of two, known for my big smile and my hearty laughter despite the suffering I endure.
So,
the decline in my physical...
Just a moment, Ms. Romer, we're having a bit of a technical difficulty. Just hold on a second, please. Qu'est-ce qui est trop fort?
Le son en salle par rapport à la traduction.
Okay. Can we turn down the sound in the room? Vous l'avez fait? Okay. Just.
They're having a problem.
Okay. All right. Please go ahead, Ms. Romer.
Okay. Thank you. The decline in my physical ability when I became sick just over 4 years ago was rapid, brutal, and unfortunately largely irreversible. Within a few months, I went from having health and independence to being unable to walk up and down the stairs in my own home without assistance. I am living with adhesive arachnoiditis and axial spondyloarthritis, both autoimmune triggered inflammatory spine diseases, as well as numerous related conditions, all which cause many neurological symptoms, the loudest of which is intractable pain. My immune system is suppressed, leaving me at higher risk for adverse outcomes if I get sick, and the medications I take to try to manage my autoimmunity cause side effects that often rival the conditions they are supposed to treat. I am currently on 18 different medications. I requested MAID for the first time in June 2019, but was denied because I didn't have a reasonably foreseeable natural death. I requested MAID for the second time in April 2022 and was approved. I remain approved for MAID, and I choose to keep that approval for when I make the very difficult decision to use it. I have a life-limiting chronic illness that causes pain severe enough it can make me wish for death, but I wasn't given the mercy of a terminal diagnosis to go with it. Over the last 4 years, I have tried everything there is available to help manage my pain and other symptoms. I have had 41 invasive and painful spine procedures, such as steroid injections, nerve root blocks, and epidurals. I've had spine surgery 3 times, radiofrequency ablations, acupuncture, physiotherapy, prolotherapy, and I've completed the entire program at the Chronic Pain Clinic. At the end of February 2022, I was implanted with a spinal cord stimulator implant in the hopes it would help reduce the pain enough to make my life livable. It helps, but not as much as we had hoped. I remained active in my health and healthcare even as I was going through the MAID process. MAID is my last resort. After I requested MAID for the second time, it took the MAID Care Coordination Service 5 weeks to find 2 MAID assessors willing to assess a complex case like mine where my death was not reasonably foreseeable. If I had needed a third assessment, there would have been no third assessor in Alberta to assess me at the time. Legal and accessible are not the same thing. The assessments that I underwent as part of the MAID process were extremely thorough, and my MAID providing physician and I maintained an open line of communication. As an assessor, he looked at my entire life, not only at the healthcare records. The biggest safeguard that there is for people with disabilities is the assessors, high-quality assessors. Of note, I was diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder 15 years ago when I was 29 years old. It has been well controlled for years, but as a precaution, the first time I went through the MAID process, I had a thorough psychological evaluation to determine my capacity to consent and to make sure that my bipolar was not a factor in my request for MAID. The second time I went through the MAID process, another psychological assessment wasn't required, although if it had been, my second assessor happened to be a psychiatrist as her day job, so that would have simplified things for me. For 8 months last year, my family and I filmed a documentary with City TV chronicling my journey with MAID. In the documentary, I shared my struggles with the actual MAID process itself, as well as sharing a portion of the emotional impact that MAID has had not only on me, but on my family as well. It has forever changed us all. In January of 2021, I requested palliative care before requesting MAID for the second time. That request was denied because I did not have a terminal diagnosis. After being approved for MAID, I requested palliative care again and was again denied. On that day in July 2022, I was clearly told by Alberta Health Services that palliative care is not available to anyone without a terminal diagnosis. I don't know if having access to palliative care would have made much of a difference to my physical suffering or not, but I believe my quality of life is just as important as someone who receives a terminal diagnosis, and I would have welcomed any support. My family and I hired a death doula, which for us turned out to be a very negative experience, but I believe the idea behind a death doula is a good one, and I hope that the right people continue that work. The pain management palliative care referred to by Alberta Health Services in their MAID policies and FAQs that were published after the legislation changed in March 2021 don't seem to exist. Moving forward, there needs to be clearly defined, actually accessible palliative care provided to every patient who has been approved for MAID, regardless of their diagnosis. I hope my lived experience can help shine a light on areas of the MAID process that may need improvement and also on the areas that don't. And I thank you for taking the time to listen. I welcome any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Romeyer. We'll now go to Ms. Trish Nichols. Ms. Nichols, you have 5 minutes.
Hi, thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. I am speaking today on behalf of our brother, Alan Nichols, who was given MAID. Our brother, Alan Nichols, received medical assistance in dying, assisted suicide, in July 26, 2019, when MAID was still reserved for those whose death was foreseeable. Alan did not meet the MAID criteria. He did not have a foreseeable death. He struggled with recurrent mental health crisis, but he always recovered. On June 16th of 2019, Alan was placed unwillingly in an ambulance taken to the Chilliwack General Hospital under the Mental Health Act for his own safety and protection, was admitted after a neighbor had called RCMP for a wellness check. My husband, Gary, flew from Edmonton to see his brother that very day. Alan asked Gary to bust him out, but Gary thought he would be safer in the hospital and get the help that he needed. My husband, Gary, lives with that regret of that decision to entrust Alan's wellness to a medical facility. Alan was transferred to psychiatry the next day. He refused visitors, including family, which disturbed us, though we trusted his treating team. Our family received no hospital updates until 8 days after admittance to emergency. Alan's doctor said she would check with staff, gather information, and ask Gary to call her back to discuss further. Gary called back, learning Alan's doctor had vanished for a 3-week holiday. For the next 3 weeks, our family was misled by his social worker, assuring us Alan was doing well. Unknown to us at this time, on July 19th, an attempt to give Alan MAID had ended in failure. The hospital had not followed the prescribed MAID protocols, as no doctor was present, no family had been notified, and they had no clear instruction where to send Alan's dead body. Alan's doctor called Gary 3 days after this botched attempt, announcing that Alan would receive MAID at the end of the week. She was delighted that Alan had agreed to a final visit with us, suggested that we make no waves, or he could actually deny our visit. After driving 12 hours, they denied the visit until the next day. 5 weeks since his admittance into emergency, for his own safety and protection, we were finally allowed to see him. Alan was not making any sense about the things we talked about. He refused to wear his cochlear apparatus, so his ability to effectively communicate was difficult. Fear began to grip us, and we began pleading and begging with the medical staff to stop this MAID. We asked for a delay as we could not reach our oldest brother, Wayne. Alan went into a fit of rage, screaming uncontrollably. I asked his doctor right then, "Is this what you call a sound mind?" Alan was euthanized minutes later. On Alan's MAID form, hearing loss is stated as the reason for application. How can doctors accept, approve, and administer a death for this when Alan did not have a terminal illness and his hearing had been corrected, and all this while he had been involuntarily admitted for suicide protection? Alan did not have a valid diagnosis for MAID. He was eating, walking, talking according to a social worker. So why did they keep him in the hospital if they weren't treating him for being a danger to himself? Placing him involuntarily in the hospital care is what put Alan in imminent danger. We still have no answers after repeatedly trying to have his death investigated. Would you feel safe now, bringing your loved suicidal one to seek medical care for recovery when there's no oversight or stringent safeguards surrounding a procedure that kills people? Alan chose to live alone, managing his daily affairs. He owned his own condominium. He had money in the bank. Each week, family would pick him up and take him to buy groceries and help him with his banking. He didn't rely on our healthcare system for any support. His family and neighbors lovingly kept an eye out for him. It was our healthcare system and this legislation that failed him, resulting in his premature and wrongful death. 3 years now we have spent in this nightmare. We are so angry and insulted at how they just all turned their heads, listening to us begging for Alan's life. Do you know what this has done to our family? With no justice, no accountability, no stringent safeguards to prevent such a wrongful death, how can our government even be looking at expanding MAID laws? There are currently no laws protecting the vulnerable or their families from MAID. Most Canadians think MAID is to alleviate the physical suffering at the end of a life, not a ploy to end a life. Thank you so much for hearing us.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. I'll now turn it over to my co-chair, Senator Martin, for a question round.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, and we'll begin after these very compelling testimonies. We'll begin with the first round of questions. Mr. Barrett, you have the floor for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Madam Co-Chair. And I want to thank Ms. Romero for joining us today and sharing your personal experience with us. I'd like to thank both Mrs. Trish Nichols and Mr. Gary Nichols for joining us and for sharing your very personal story as well. So my question, Madam Co-Chair, is through you. It's to Mrs. Nichols. And sorry, you're as I mentioned, I appreciate the very personal and moving testimony shared by all the witnesses. Could you just confirm the timing of the Mrs. Nichols of Alan receiving MAID and what his diagnosis was at that time?
Yes, I can confirm that he was actually admitted on June 16th of 2019, and he received MAID on July 26th of 2019.
Okay, and so in your testimony, you shared that it was an involuntary admittance to the hospital. It was for suicide prevention. That's correct, ma'am?
Right. We are understanding that that's exactly what it was for, because the RCMP had found him dehydrated, not coherent. He was confused. So they took him to the hospital and admitted him under the Mental Health Act.
Okay. And so what has been your recourse that you have attempted since that time?
I'm going to allow my husband to answer that question, if that's all right.
Yes, the question to Mr. Nichols, please, Madam Co-Chair.
Yes, we have tried to file many complaints. We filed a complaint with the College of Physicians in BC, and they stated they would not follow through with an investigation unless there was a criminal investigation by the RCMP. We went to the RCMP. They said it was out of their jurisdiction. In addition, we've written to the Federal Minister of Health, the Provincial Minister of Health, MLAs. There is actually only one MLA in the Chilliwack area that actually assisted us, and they got the same result. You either got the runaround playing ping pong with you. It was either they would state it was not in their jurisdiction, or they'd pass you on to somebody else. So after 3 years, we've got no justification, no recourse. It's been a really slow trying process, and it's really hit on our emotions. So it's been really tough.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. I'm wondering, with respect to those complaints or the responses that you received from the College of Physicians and Surgeons and from the RCMP, if you would be able to provide copies of those to the committee clerk. It may be helpful for us to see that in finalizing our report, and the clerk would then be responsible for ensuring any personal or confidential information was redacted. Is that something you'd be able to provide, sir?
We can provide the one from the College of Physicians. The RCMP actually just phoned my brother. He was in the Boston Bar area, about 45 minutes from the Chilliwack area where Alan was euthanized. And he had gone to the RCMP station, I can give you the case number and the constable's name, but all he received was a phone call saying, sorry, we can't help you, it's out of our jurisdiction.
Okay. So in March, so thank you for that, sir. So in March of 2023, MAID will be legalized for mental disorders. The expert panel suggests that there's no change necessary to the legislation in its current form, and practitioners are advised to proceed on a case-by-case basis. So based on your experience, how do you receive that?
I don't like to see the MAID expanded until the safeguards are actually enforced. Because there was a safeguard for my brother, not even after, that's Bill C-14, and it didn't help him.
And
So
what's
this-
and pardon my interruption, sir. What's the specific safeguard that you're referencing?
His foreseeable natural death. He had no terminal illness. He was being treated for absolutely nothing in the hospital. So he could have lived for several years.
Okay.
So his
Thank
death was
you.
not foreseeable.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Nichols. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you very much. And next we'll have Dr. Fry. You have the floor. You're still muted. Dr. Fry, you're still muted. Dr. Fry, you have to unmute, please. Okay, so there must be an issue with Dr. Fry's laptop. So, we'll just wait and see if. Oh, there you had it unmuted at one moment. Okay, there's an issue on the sound.
Could the host please allow me to be unmuted?
Yes,
Thank
now we
you.
can
I am
hear
now
you.
unmuted.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you. So now you have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. I just wanted to thank both Ms. Nichols and Ms. Romer for different but very compelling testimony. What is very apparent, as you said, is that there are need for clear safeguards that are actually ones that are going to have standards, national standards that can be kept over the country so that provinces don't make up their own ones. I think that is what we're hearing from a lot of people. We don't have that right now. And provinces may or may not, as Ms. Romer is telling us in Alberta, even though she was eligible, she couldn't get palliative care. She couldn't get anything we needed. So I agree with you, and I want to thank you both, because the tragedy of actually being able to have MAID or not wanting MAID is something that really needs to be clearly defined, to have clear guidelines, and to have clear patterns of practice that is decided on across the country and is not done locally by provinces. So I just wanted to say that I wondered, Ms. Nichols and Mr. Nichols, if you could answer me. You are getting nothing from the College of Physicians in BC? No information.
They actually said they were not going to involve us in their investigation, but they will use all their information to do their in behind closed doors. So they could be doing something that we're not aware of. Because I did send them another email saying that the nurse that actually filled out the assessment of Alan was also the one that euthanized him. And I said that's kind of a conflict there, and especially a nurse coming up with some kind of assessment of his natural death when there was no autopsy, nothing really done. Like,
I think that basically the College of Physicians is responsible for physicians' practice, for whether physicians are practicing within the guidelines or whether the physicians are malpracticing. And so that may, as you said, may be exactly what the college is doing behind closed doors, because there had to be psychiatrists looking after him, not just nurses. Were there psychiatrists looking after him? Who was his attending psychiatrist in the hospital?
He was in the psychiatric ward at the hospital, and because we went there.
Yeah.
And when he was transferred to the PATH unit after a few days, they gave him antidepressants for a couple of days, transferred him to the PATH unit. Then the MAID team brought in their own psychologists they didn't use the hospital psychiatrist or psychologist when he was in the psychiatric ward. They brought in their own and just did their simple evaluation.
I am so sorry to hear of your trials and your pain that you must be feeling right now. And again, Ms. Romer, your testimony tells us exactly what I think we're hearing. And I am so glad that we're hearing from people on all sides of the spectrum who wanted, did not want, etc. MAID. And I think you're pointing out to this committee, and what we're hearing from you is that we need to call for clear, distinct practice guidelines for across the country, nationally. Now, that is a difficult thing because the provinces are responsible for practices and for patterns of practice, not the federal government. And so this is a problem, and provinces will decide what they want to decide. And we saw two different problems, one in Alberta and another one in British Columbia. But thank you. I don't want to ask you any more questions because you were pretty clear in your testimony, both of you. I think that it's really important that the right and trained people do MAID assessments, that actually the person who is seeking MAID has an advocate as a physician who knows their life, who knows what their problems have been, and can advocate for that. And it seemed that in your case, Mr. and Ms. Nichols, it did not happen. And so our problem as a committee are going to have to look at how, given that patterns of practice and practice guidelines are provincial in jurisdiction, that it's going to be very difficult for the federal government to have a national standards of practice. But the colleges of psychiatry and the College of Physicians may be able to do something about that because they can be responsible for setting clear guidelines of practice. I just want to tell you how sorry I am to hear of your pain on top of pain, that sort of almost adding insult to injury in both your cases. Thank you for testifying, and thank you so much for being so honest and clear with us.
Thank you, Dr. Fry,
I appreciate
and
it.
thank you again to the witnesses. Next, we will go to Monsieur Thériault for 5 minutes.
Merci.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. These testimonies are very touching and very troubling. I'd like to thank Mr. and Ms. Nichols and Ms. Romero for their testimonies. However, it's difficult for me in 5 minutes, and after hearing for just 5 minutes of your cases, to really do an adequate job to properly understand what went wrong where. However, what I'm left with as an impression is that something that is not supposed to happen happened in 2019. Mr. and Mrs. Nichols MAID in 2019 for mental health conditions was not part of the Act. I won't put any more questions along those lines. Ms. Romero, you highlighted a problem, which is one that we've heard about in Quebec as well. In Quebec, when it comes to care at end of life, Quebec was one of the first places to legalize medical assistance in dying. There's even a commission that must supervise interventions and asks for accountability from all practitioners. However, your experiences show that those who are requesting MAID are excluded from palliative care, no matter where they are in their trajectory, whether it's at the terminal phase or pre-terminal phase. That's what you went through, and that's what you told us today. You currently have been are approved for MAID, but you were telling us that it would help you if you also had palliative care and access to palliative care. Others have told us that there are palliative care, or there is palliative care in the terminal phase, but pre-terminal phases as well. I'd like to hear again what you have to say. I want to make sure I've understood correctly. You were told there was no palliative care available to you because you had applied for MAID. No, because she was not. She did not have a foreseeable death, but it was not because she had been approved for MAID. I'll let you answer, Ms. Romero.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I was denied palliative care because I did not have a terminal diagnosis. That was the
Oui.
reason that I was told.
OK, mais
All right. But are you eligible after you've been approved? The first time you were not approved. After your second request, you were approved, but because you're not in a terminal phase of your life, you're not allowed palliative care, if I've understood correctly.
I am approved for MAID. I requested palliative care before I requested MAID and was denied because I didn't have a terminal diagnosis. And after I requested MAID and was approved for MAID, I again asked for palliative care and was denied again because I did not have a terminal diagnosis. I don't know if it would have helped.
en tout cas, ça aurait sûrement aidé à
You would surely have helped to lessen the pain, I imagine, to have somebody do follow-ups and help care for you in your suffering and to alleviate your pain. What I'm going to say is that in Quebec, even when people are in their terminal phase of life, which is not in your case, palliative care is refused. So there's new legislation that has been put in place in Quebec where if the legislation had been adopted, those houses and centers would have had to approve palliative care, that practice of separating people, that is those who request MAID but are not allowed palliative care. That's a practice that is widespread, not just in your case, but in Quebec as well. I wanted to highlight that because often witnesses say that palliative care would decrease the amount of MAID. But at the same time, we need to have compassion and also help welcome or prepare people for death. So that's what I've understood. Thank you.
Go to Mr. McGregor for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. Mrs. Nichols, I'd like to start with you, and I'll echo the words of my colleagues in thanking you for coming before our committee and sharing a very personal story about Alan. Alan, I guess being in 2019, it would have been under the old C-14 regime. And,
Correct.
I brought the bill up because, of course, it was subsequently changed, the criminal code with C-7. And
February 4th.
I guess from our perspective as federal legislators, in your opinion, is there something that was missed in how the safeguards are written out in the criminal code? Or is this more on the side of the medical profession? Could you maybe answer that for us?
Well, we have criteria for MAID. There are definitely, in Bill C-14, there are definite criteria for MAID, and Alan did not meet the criteria for MAID. Medically, or according to the laws that are set by legislature. So he did not meet those. He didn't meet the criteria because he didn't have a foreseeable death. And he was admitted under a mental health act for as a danger to himself. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There needs to be a law put in place to protect people from being administered and put into a hospital against their will, don't you think? For that, just in itself. And then to actually be offered MAID and transferred and bounced around a hospital and kept from his family.
Was your family ever able to get access, to the signed documents by the two independent physicians that would have been involved in the process?
It took us 1.5 years to get those. Yep.
So that part was followed?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, I appreciate you sharing your story. I don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, and I'd like to turn to Ms. Romer. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank you for appearing before our committee and sharing your personal experience. So as you relayed to my colleague, you were denied palliative care because even though you have been approved for medical assistance in dying, your condition is not terminal. I'm just wondering, Ms. Romero, like if you look at this, the services that would have been given to you had you been approved for palliative care, like will that have any bearing, like, or impact on your decision with respect to medical assistance in dying? I just wanted to put that into some context. Is there anything you can share with us?
Thank you for the question. I do believe that having access to palliative care would help my suffering. I'm not sure. I don't think it would make enough of a difference to me to make me not request MAID, but I think that it would give me the ability to cope with my pain for longer. It would raise my quality of life so that I can live with the physical pain, the things that I can't change. And I believe I should have the option to try to see if it would have helped me before I follow through with MAID.
So yeah, with your pain management, with your quality of life, is there anything like, you know, can the health services not provide, are they providing sufficient management as it stands now, or I guess you're saying palliative care would go above and beyond what medical services you have access to now?
I'm receiving no supports whatsoever, and I never have in Alberta. I had to go to Vancouver for treatment. That Alberta Health Services paid for the treatment, not for the travel, but the treatment. The parts of palliative care that I was looking for included counseling for my family, because as it stood, someone was going to show up to come to my home, end my life, and leave, and my family would have nothing, no counseling, no support whatsoever. And that was a part of what I was looking for with the palliative care.
Thank you for clarifying that. That's the end of my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll
Thank
turn
you.
this now over to my co-chair for the round of questions for senators.
Thank you, Senator Martin. We'll go to the senators now for 3-minute rounds, beginning with la sénatrice Mégy. Madame Mégy, vous avez 3 minutes.
Senator Mégy, you have 3 minutes.
Merci aux témoins.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the witnesses for telling us some of your personal lives. It's very touching and unfortunate to hear what's happening. My first question will be for Mrs. Nichols. Were you aware whether your brother had a physical illness concomitant with or co-occurring with his mental health problems?
To pass this over to my husband, Gary.
Alan, he had a little bit of a physical disability. When he was 12 and 13, he had the brain surgery to remove a benign tumor, and that's what affected his hearing and why he needed later on the cochlear implants. When they removed the last surgery to remove the tumor, they had to take a little piece of the brain, which affected his right side. So he used to write with his right hand. He had to learn how to write with his left hand. And his walk, of course, was a little bit lumbered just because of his left leg, and that side just didn't work 100%. But he had no physical ability, like he could walk down the block, for years. He could walk miles. He went up and down. He had stairs in his house. He could go up and down. He would come down from his bedroom, go into the kitchen. He did all his house cleaning, all his own shopping, all his own banking. It was my brother that would come down and drive him to do those kind of chores. And but his physical ability didn't limit him from living, by no means.
So he was no diagnosis for an illness. That's what I wanted to know, aside from the tumor.
Nothing at all. He was actually treated for nothing.
Ouais, okay, merci.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you if you could tell or send us the hospital report if it's possible. I don't know. Since it's under investigation, perhaps they won't want to disclose it, but if it's possible, at the same time as the report from the College of Physicians, I'd like to hear from Ms. Romer. I was very disappointed to hear that you did not have access for palliative care. It's not just for people who are at the end of their lives. It's also for people who cannot get anything that will help, that will cure the illness. So it's very disappointing to hear that you weren't eligible for it. It's very important for us at the committee to look at that. Please keep working to try to get it, because it would give you and your family more support. That's what palliative care is supposed to be, not just for the dying. That's something that I wanted to tell you. I mean, I know you were in Alberta, but that's what I wanted to tell you. Thank you, Senator.
Kutcher.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, I was held up at the previous engagement, and I wasn't here to hear the full testimony of the witnesses, and I therefore think it would be quite inappropriate for me to ask them questions about a testimony that I did not hear.
Very good. So, Senator Wallin. Senator Wallin, you can take 4 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, co-chairs. I know this is very difficult, and I'm sorry that we're subjecting you to this, but I'd like to just go back to Mr. and Mrs. Nichols, if I could, and just because the reason you're hearing these questions is because it's quite stunning for us to hear that there were no doctors involved in this process, that a nurse filled out the form and then carried out the I hesitate to call it a MAID procedure, but carried out the procedure with no doctors present. Is that the case? I think you're on mute. So. Can you?
Yes.
Ms. Nichols, you're on mute.
So
okay, you're okay now.
Yeah, there we've got it.
Let me clarify that for you.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Mrs. Co-Chair. So here, the attempt at MAID was July the 19th of 2019. And that day, there were no doctor available. Our family didn't even know Alan had applied and was getting MAID. And they did not know, the nurse practitioner did not know where to send Alan's body after if she had completed it. So she stopped the procedure.
Okay, well, let me just back up. So on what basis had he applied for MAID?
He on his form, where it asks your reason for applying, hearing loss.
That was the reason he gave.
That was what was on his application form.
Okay, but he had at some point requested MAID?
He filled in the form. You know, we don't really know what happened. We're still trying to get information from the hospital, and we have asked for specific forms that we have now received, and one of them we wanted to see the application form, because that day on July 26th, when the MAID was actually performed, we asked the doctor to see his signature on anything. And she said, you'll have to ask Alan for that. He's the only one that can provide that. Well, he's getting prepped for his end of life. He wanted nothing to do with that. So.
And did you have any discussion with him at that moment? Did you say, I didn't know you'd requested MAID. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Was he of sound mind at that moment, as far as you know?
We had the day before we arrived, and we spent that evening with him, and we tried to talk him out of it. We just wanted to bring him home and get him out of the hospital.
But he was determined, if that's the right word, to proceed.
Actually, my husband said, Alan, you know, I'm going to be retiring, because we live in Alberta. I'm going to be retiring in the next year. And Trish and I are thinking of moving back to the Chilliwack area. And Alan said, gee, I wish I had known that. So he was talking about things that he was, mad at the government. He was mad. Just wait. He wasn't making sense. He was talking nonsensical things at that time. And so the next morning we came. We actually sat in the room with him when they administered those lethal injections in his arm. We were with him. His own doctor couldn't even be in the room.
And was he aware as that process? Because if this is all being carried out legally, of course, the doctors and the assistant that's with them, whether it's a nurse or another doctor, must ask.
Yes, she
must
did.
describe the process and ask. And he gave that final consent?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that, because I did not understand that the first time through.
Yeah.
Ms. Romero, if I can come back to you then on a similar kind of issue of process. So you applied and asked for MAID, and what was in that first request in which you were rejected, it was not accepted, what was your reason? What was your reason?
Thank you for the question. The reason that I first requested MAID, both times actually, was for adhesive arachnoiditis. It was for the pain that I have in my spine. It was for physical suffering.
That's what you wrote on the forms, and the doctors or the assessors then said what to you at that point? For I'm talking about the first round.
When you first request MAID, you do a record of request for MAID, and that's sent in Alberta. It's sent to the Care Coordination Service, and they coordinate to the assessments that they're going to have with you. The assessments that I had were hours and hours long. They sent 2 independent assessors, and they both came independent, and they spent hours with me, and my sister was here with me for the assessment, and he took almost 3 hours in my first assessment, just going through the history, everything I had tried, everything that had failed, and we covered a lot of things, and I had handed him a very not simplified, but well put together case already. I had my list of 15 specialists that I had consults with already and gave that to him. So I provided all those things, and it was still hours and hours long.
And when did they tell you no? That day or later, a week later, a month later? When did they say, no, we don't think you're eligible?
Sorry, the first time that I requested MAID, I had the 2 assessments, and they tell you at the end of your assessment, the first 2 that I had in 2019, they told me at the end of that assessment that because I did not have a reasonably foreseeable natural death, that they had to tell me no. But that's actually the first assessor that I had, the one who told me to fight for it.
Okay, so then you went, and what was the time between your first request that was unsuccessful and your second request for MAID, which is successful? So it's sort of sitting on the books for you to trigger at some point. Is that how you see it?
Yes. Yeah. I keep that for when I can't do it, can't do this anymore.
And what was the time?
Thank you, Senator Wallin.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Cheryl.
Sénateur Dalphond.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
For the appearance today. I know they are difficult stories to tell to the world, and we hope that I'm kind of shocked to hear that you refuse some palliative care or the assistance that you need, Mrs. Romero. My question is for Mr. and Mrs. Nichols. Your story has been happening in 2019, and I read through the net, I could see the story that was run by CTV about it. And that's already almost 3 years ago. And in the story, they say that you have hired a lawyer to assist you. So what's happening with this? Your lawyer was supposed to, according to the CTV report, your lawyer was to get access to the medical records, and I guess you were going to advise further on if you were going to sue somebody. So did you get access to the medical files and everything else?
Because when Alan was in the hospital, that's where he did his will. He didn't have a will when he entered the hospital. They brought in a notary who filled out his will, and Alan made him the executor of the will. So we had troubles getting his records. So, but eventually we got some medical records because we put a lien against the will and everything like that for a while. And so they forwarded us the medical records, and there's nothing there to show that Alan's being treated for anything, just really the MAID reports and applications like that. We are contemplating action, like some kind of a criminal law against the hospital, a claim maybe against the hospital, but that's just in the process. They have deep pockets, so we were actually hoping to get a little more support from the RCMP and the College of Physicians.
But you contacted the RCMP according to the CTV report 3 years ago, and so far they have not. Are they telling you the file is closed, or?
Yeah, they say that they're okay with it, even though they didn't take a statement from my brother or me, and they're aware that his application said hearing loss is the reason for MAID, which it's hard to think that you could have a reasonable foreseeable death from a hearing loss, but that was it. So we're not too sure if there's a conflict of interest because it was the RCMP that took him to the hospital, but just the same, they're not going to do any investigation. So there doesn't seem to be any recourse that way.
I understand that you may have filed a complaint with the nurses associations about it 3 year ago, maybe?
No, the complaint with the College of Physicians, and I guess you throw the nurses in there, was just done just before it was the November 2021. We weren't in a hurry to do that because we just thought they wouldn't do that great of a job investigating their own. We were hoping for the RCMP to do it, but that's as far as we got. I mean, they won't do a thing unless the RCMP proceed with an investigation. So there's not much happening in our favor at all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this information.
Thank you. We'll go to Senator Martin now for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, and thank you so much to our witnesses and just for helping us understand what your experiences with MAID has been, and for us to better understand and inform our committee. So actually my first question is to either of the Nichols regarding what advice you would like to offer our committee, as we will be looking at recommendations to the government about MAID. So what further advice would you like to give to us?
Thank you very much for asking that question. I've taken the liberty of writing this down. First of all, advice: no expansion or widening of the laws or other bills until you understand what's really happening on the ground here. The second thing is, no patient should be considered eligible or offered MAID when they're in acute care. It's offensive that they're already in there, they're vulnerable already, and that's just not an appropriate thing to do. Make it necessary for practitioners to consult with family and friends and other close contacts during MAID applications and assessment processes. This is just common sense in the ability for a medical team to proceed with due diligence to obtain all the necessary information on individuals applying for MAID. This is extremely important for vulnerable individuals like Alan with disabilities and mental illness. We're talking death here. It's not, it can't be death on demand. to form a federal independent review board, like a group that could attend to any suspicious, like we have no one to turn to. We have written over 40 letters to the Prime Minister, to the Honorable David Lametti. We have written so many letters and trying to find out, give us one reason why Alan was allowed MAID, because he signed a form and he had a hearing loss. Not good, not good enough. And how many other Canadian families are going to have to go through what our families had to go through until this MAID laws are concrete, definitive, and there's no gray area, and they're not ambiguous. We need to address the concerns of the medical teams inadequately addressing MAID requirements before the MAID's injected. And also, finally, I would like to add that the individuals filing MAID and before they're approved, they should have to exhaust reasonable assistance and care. Alan didn't even get a chance to have assisted living. He didn't want that because he wasn't sure what it really was about and how would it help him in his current state of depression. So I had asked the nurse, well, actually I'd asked his doctor that day. I said, you've got to stop this. And she said, what do you want me to do, Trish? What would you have me do? And I said, look, this hospital has had Alan for 38 days, kept him away from our family. You give our family 38 days. And I can guarantee you, you are going to have a different result. Alan has been depressed before, he's experienced this before, and he's always come back. So you're making a mistake. And so to put somebody, to literally have, I want you to imagine that this is your brother who's had mental depression, and you are begging doctors not to take his life.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Nichols. And Ms. Romero, I think I have a minute or so. I just heard you say that you want to have counseling for your family in the event you go through with MAID. And so I'm assuming that's one of the advice. But do you have anything else that you want to add?
The supports that I wanted included the counseling for my family, bereavement counseling afterwards if I do choose MAID. Yes, there were family counseling beforehand, individual counseling beforehand. I think that palliative care encompasses a lot of things. Spiritual support. It's hard to, I don't know if it would have made a difference to me. I wish that I had the option to try, is all I can say.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
On behalf of the committee, I want to thank the witnesses who came this evening, Ms. Nichols, Mr. Nichols, Ms. Romero. Your testimony this evening can only be described as, well, on the one hand, powerful. On the other hand, also very, very revealing. I think this has been very insightful for the committee to hear you, and we're very glad that you took the time to tell us your stories. It was not easy for you, but we very, very much appreciate you coming this evening and answering our questions and making us aware of things that we really do need to know about as committee members. So thank you very much. And the committee, of course, is only partway through its work, but we will continue with our work. But now with the knowledge of having heard your testimonies this evening. So thank you very much. To the committee members, we will suspend very briefly as we go in camera for the next session.